Is Lewis Hamilton the cleanest F1 champion ever? Lando Norris admits he wasn't ready to be champion, and Ferrari is in trouble as new TD could affect them the most. Do consider subscribing. Let's get into the latest F1 news. While Oscar Piastri is looking forward to the chance to compete on an even playing field, he is also aware that he is there to support his teammate Lando Norris, according to the insights shared by David Coulthard. Coulthard mentioned that although Piastri may have expectations of his own, being in a supportive role could lead to some benefits for him in the long run. Reflecting on his own experiences when he was with McLaren, Coulthard indicated that the support he provided to his teammate Mika Hakkinen did not seem to result in any rewards for him. As Lando Norris began to emerge as a more serious contender in the race for the Drivers' Championship against Max Verstappen, McLaren started to show more support for Norris, while Piastri was prepared to take on a role that prioritized this teamwork. However, since Verstappen's actions in Brazil appeared to have severely impacted Norris's chances at the title, Piastri is now looking forward to a more balanced situation in their partnership. Piastri addressed the media, including representatives from PlanetF1.com, in Las Vegas, where he confirmed that he and Norris would be treated as equals once again. He stated that there may still be some particular situations where he could be called upon to assist, but emphasized that for the vast majority of scenarios, things would revert to being more equitable. He highlighted the importance of the current standing in the Drivers' Championship, which appears to have limited possibilities, while pointing out that the Constructors' Championship is still very much in play and not yet settled. He remarked that while there might be unique circumstances where he would still lend a helping hand if requested, his main focus as he approached the upcoming race weekend is on winning for himself and the team. However, Coulthard, who secured 12 of his 13 Formula One victories while driving for McLaren, expressed his belief that McLaren, as they adapt to their position as front-runners in the 2024 season, had concluded that Piastri would primarily serve as a supporter to Norris. In his conversation on the Red Flags podcast, Coulthard shared his thoughts by saying that, based on his connections and understanding of the team's dynamics from his earlier days there, he sensed that McLaren's performance was unexpected for them this season. He suggested that at the start of the season, with Max Verstappen dominating the races, McLaren was still in a rebuilding phase, aiming for competitiveness in the 2025 and 2026 seasons. Therefore, when they discovered mid-season just how capable their car actually was, it caught them by surprise. He observed that this unexpected success led to some confusion and uncertainty about how to navigate their newfound position, especially compared to Red Bull, who were arguably more prepared to make daring choices regarding strategy and decision-making. Although Coulthard felt the team had since gained a better grasp on the situation, he described the circumstances in Budapest as somewhat uncomfortable, not only for the drivers but also for the commentators, and particularly for Oscar. Coulthard was candid in expressing that while it may not be the ideal situation for Piastri, he recognizes that he has a duty to support Lando and fulfill his role within the team. He hopes that this commitment to teamwork will ultimately lead to benefits for Piastri as well. However, he added that this idea might not bring much comfort since he had his own experiences of not receiving similar rewards when he played a supporting role for Hakkinen, McLaren's two-time world champion. Coulthard recounted, as a side note, that he never benefited from the victories he had hoped for or anticipated during his time supporting Hakkinen, mentioning only one instance where Hakkinen allowed him to finish in third place instead. As McLaren looks to solidify their chances for a first Constructors' Championship victory since 1998, it is crucial that both Norris and Piastri consistently score the maximum number of points in the remaining races. With only 3 rounds left in the season, McLaren currently leads Ferrari by a significant margin of 36 points. The various Formula One teams have recently received a new technical directive just ahead of the exciting Las Vegas Grand Prix. This directive comes after the Red Bull racing team raised concerns that some of their competitors were using what they called special protection measures on their skid blocks and the fastening systems used on their race cars. In Formula One, there are specific technical regulations that govern the design and use of the skid blocks. These blocks, which run along the bottom of the car from the front to the back, play a crucial role in protecting the car's floor from wear and damage caused by bumps and curbs on the racetracks. The regulations state that the thickness of these skid blocks must be set at 10 millimeters, with a slight allowance of plus or minus 0.2 millimeters. To ensure safety and fairness, there is also a minimum thickness due to wear that must not drop below 9 millimeters. Last season, Both well-known drivers, Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, faced serious consequences when they were disqualified from the United States Grand Prix. This disqualification occurred because the wear on their skid blocks exceeded the acceptable limits, highlighting the importance of adhering strictly to these technical specifications. As teams continue to strive for better performance, many are pushing their cars closer to the ground to enhance stability and downforce. This desire to optimize the setup has led to some teams employing questionable tactics to safeguard the key components, such as the skid blocks and the screws that hold them in place. According to a report from Auto, Motor and Sport, it appears that certain teams have been using clever tricks to shield these fastening screws from damage. One particular method that some teams have adopted involves wrapping insulation around the block and the screws. The latest reported approach involves adding what is being labeled as special protection, specifically targeting the fastening screw located in the rear area of the car's base plate. This tactic permits teams to lower the ride height of their vehicle, which effectively increases downforce, while still ensuring compliance with the FIA's measurement regulations. The report further indicates that approximately 50% of the teams have been operating in what could be considered a gray area of the rules, suggesting that many are bending the regulations to gain a competitive edge. However, this situation has prompted the FIA, the governing body of motorsport, to intervene. After Red Bull brought these practices to the attention of the FIA, they deemed such tricks to be illegal, leading to the issuance of a new technical directive just in time for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. The FIA took the step of informing all teams through an official letter, clearly stating that the protective skids that were under scrutiny are not allowed under the current regulations. This notice applies immediately, emphasizing that compliance is critical moving forward. Interestingly, one team allegedly requested the FIA to postpone the implementation of this directive. Reports suggest that this team is Ferrari, who are concerned that raising their car's ride height, which is now necessary to protect the skids and screws, could lead to a disadvantage in terms of lap time. This situation is not isolated. The FIA has had to manage various technical challenges this racing season. Issues have ranged from concerns about flexible wings to holes in brake drums, and even McLaren's controversial mini DRS system. As the teams prepare for the Las Vegas circuit, McLaren currently enjoys a solid lead in the Constructors' Championship standings, sitting 36 points ahead of Ferrari, with Red Bull trailing by an additional 14 points. The developments surrounding the new technical directive promise to add an intriguing layer of strategy and competition as the season progresses. Lewis Hamilton's lack of ruthlessness on track makes him the anomaly in the group of F1 villains like Max Verstappen, Michael Schumacher, and Ayrton Senna. That is the opinion of former Red Bull driver David Coulthard, who believes Verstappen's absolute fighting spirit has given him the edge over Hamilton whenever the pair have raced on track. Hamilton stands as the most successful driver in F1 history, having equaled Schumacher's record of 7 world championships in 2020 before becoming the first man to surpass 100 Grand Prix wins and pole positions the following year. After 2 consecutive winless seasons across 2022-23, Hamilton returned to the top step of the podium in F1 2024 by claiming an emotional victory at his home race at Silverstone before collecting a record-extending 105th career win at Spa weeks later. Verstappen has emerged as F1's dominant force over recent years and is likely to clinch a 4th consecutive world championship at this weekend's Las Vegas Grand Prix. Another title triumph would see the 27-year-old, who holds a 62-point lead over McLaren driver Lando Norris, become only the 2nd driver in F1 history after Red Bull icon Sebastian Vettel to win each of his first 4 titles in successive years. Verstappen's conduct in wheel-to-wheel battle has come under scrutiny in recent weeks, with the Dutchman hit with a rare 20-second penalty at last month's Mexican Grand Prix for 2 separate incidents with Norris. It reignited the debate over driving standards in F1, with Verstappen's moves against Norris compared to his hostility and battle with Hamilton during their classic F1 2021 title fight. Appearing on the Red Flags podcast, Coulthard likened Verstappen's aggression to that shown by Senna and Schumacher in previous generations. And he argued that Hamilton cannot be considered in the same ruthless category of his fellow multiple world champions, having earned a reputation for fairness in battle over the course of his career. Coulthard said, "Remember when boxer Floyd Mayweather accepted the invitation from Conor McGregor to fight each other? There's a reason why he fought him in boxing and not UFC or MMA, because he's got control of that territory. So Max is Conor McGregor, he's UFC. And Lando at the moment is an incredibly talented boxer, but who's going to win if there was no rules?" It's going to be the guy that sees no limit. With the exception of eye gouging and testicle tickling, everything else goes. Max has been doing that for a long time. Lando will get there and he'll win. He'll win more races. He'll win championships on his talent. But Max is the best. That's why he deserves to be in the same category as an Ayrton, a Michael. I would say Lewis, but I put Lewis in brackets because Lewis has actually done it in a very uncontroversial way. I know there was the contact with Max in Max's first championship year at Silverstone, but that's about as much on the edge contact I've seen from Lewis. He's a very clean racer. He manages to keep out of a lot of controversy through his career, so he's the anomaly in that group of the villains. Put to him that Hamilton's years of dominance with Mercedes meant he did not need to flex his muscles on track, Coulthard replied, "You're absolutely spot on. I think that there was a comfortable period there for Lewis when they had car advantage, and he's an exceptional driver. It doesn't diminish the results he's had, but of course when he has gone wheel to wheel with Max, normally Max has come out in front because he's got that absolute fighting spirit. We will be debating this beyond our lifetimes about the rights and wrongs, and it transcends into other sports. With soccer players or tennis players, whatever, there's always going to be the ones that are seen as being a little bit on edge when it comes to where the line is. But what they've actually done is redefine the modern era of where the line is. Michael did it, Ayrton did it, Max is doing it. And that's because every generation should be better. Better doesn't mean nicer, better just means they deliver. They deliver the victories when all the drivers might not. Hamilton has long been a vocal critic of Verstappen's behavior on track, commenting in the aftermath of their heated battle at the 2021 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix that the Red Bull driver is over the limit. He said in Jeddah, "I have raced a lot of drivers in my 28 years of racing. I have come across a lot of characters. There's a few that are over the limit. The rules don't apply. He's over the limit for sure. I have avoided collision on so many occasions with the guy. I don't mind being the one who does that because you get to live another day." Speaking to media, including PlanetF1.com after the Mexican GP, meanwhile, Hamilton revealed that he instinctively knew Verstappen was at the center of controversy after seeing a cloud of dust up ahead on track at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Put to him that Verstappen's second incident with Norris in Mexico was similar to his near miss with the Red Bull man at Brazil 2021, Hamilton replied, "I've not seen it. I could see a group of cars ahead and I saw a plume of smoke, of dust." Bursting into laughter, Hamilton then added, "And I knew it was him. I knew it must have been him. I was like, for sure, that's him." Asked if he feels there is a growing consensus that Verstappen crosses the line too often, he added, "Again, I haven't seen it, so I can't comment. That's for you to decide. For me, I'm not in that race at the front, so it doesn't really matter." With his championship hopes all but over, Lando Norris offered a frank assessment of his title-challenging season ahead of this weekend's Las Vegas Grand Prix. While Max Verstappen looks set to wrap up his fourth consecutive world championship, perhaps as early as this weekend in Las Vegas, McLaren's Lando Norris has been his closest challenger throughout the season. Claiming his first F1 Grand Prix win earlier this year at the Miami Grand Prix, Norris and McLaren's title challenge strengthened considerably through the middle third of the season. But both sides started on the back foot. Red Bull's start to the season was similarly dominant to the advantage the Milton Keynes-based squad enjoyed throughout 2023. While McLaren has caught and surpassed Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship, a title it may still win with a strong triple-header to round out the year, this has largely been due to the underperformance of Sergio Perez, while McLaren has had two strong drivers as Oscar Piastri has ably backed up Norris's charge. Norris slowly chipped away at Verstappen's points lead, getting it down to 47 points after the Mexico City Grand Prix, only for Verstappen's performance in Brazil to all but end any hope of an unlikely title win as he extended his lead back out to 62 points. While Norris remains mathematically in contention, the form book suggests it is merely a matter of when, and not if, Verstappen wraps up the title. The circumstances required for Norris to win essentially need 3 consecutive race retirements for Verstappen, with victories and second places for Norris. But even if this year hasn't netted him the ultimate prize, it's been a year of immense learning for Norris with a mixture of mistakes, both from his side and the team's, in the face of battle. Asked whether he reckons he'll learn from these mistakes, and whether he'll be back after taking those lessons on board for next year, Norris offered a mature and honest assessment of his season, one he admits he didn't enter believing was a title-contending chance. "Yeah, I think going into a season with a mindset of let's try and win it, it's a very different mindset to what we had this year," he said. "It's been a different story throughout the season. We started miles off the pace. We started third, fourth best team at the beginning of the year. We were for a long time. Red Bull was extremely dominant, more dominant than any other team has been for the rest of the year. We've been extremely quick, and probably one of the quickest for the most part. But when we have been, it's been by a much smaller margin. So to create the differences that they were able to create in the beginning of the year, it's pretty much impossible. I feel like I've still done a very good job, but it's clear. One thing you'll always get from me is the honesty of whether I've done a good job, a bad job, or whether we as a team have done a good job or a bad job, and I'll be honest with what I say. I think there's been plenty of races, there's been a good few where we didn't perform to the level we needed to do as a team. Silverstone, for example, is one where we should have had probably a 1-2, and we couldn't have finished further from a 1-2. There are sides where, as a team, we didn't perform at the level we needed to do as a world championship winning team, but there's also been plenty of times when I've not performed at the level I need to perform at to win a championship. With Norris's championship rival being the battle-hardened Verstappen, racing for a team well accustomed to winning, Norris admitted it may have been a jump too far to make it the first time of asking. "I probably wasn't outright ready to go up against Red Bull and Max. I think I am now, and it's probably too late to do that," he said. "Maybe there are other drivers in the past that were ready for such an occasion, but no one has gone up against Max so early on in kind of their career, halfway through the season, and put up, I think, a pretty reasonable fight. I mean, I'm there, but there's no one else doing it, you know? So I've done my best. I've not done well enough, and I've always admitted that. And I think Max is probably one of the best drivers ever in Formula One, and I don't think you'll probably get a much better driver than Max ever in Formula One ever again. That's my opinion, but that's what I believe in, and for me to go up against that belief, to fight against that person that I know is so good, takes a bit more than what I probably achieved this season. But I think what I've done since the summer break is closer to what I need to be, and I think that is close to being good enough to fighting for it next year." Norris's sentiments were echoed by former McLaren and Red Bull star David Coulthard, who told PlanetF1.com the speed of McLaren's ascendancy almost seemed to come as a surprise for the Woking-based squad. "I don't think McLaren entered the year thinking, this is a world championship year. Psychologically, it's just a little difference," the Scot said. "I think they went in going, we're on the right track, we're rebuilding, and then suddenly when they found form, they almost didn't know how to own it." Coulthard pointed out that, while Verstappen is well used to getting his elbows out to achieve his goals, this year is the first time Norris has been faced with a scenario that has forced him to race with a different mentality to how he's raced in F1 since entering the sport in 2019. "It's been quite a comfortable ride for Lando. He's had a good background and good support from Zak Brown, McLaren CEO, before he was in Formula One," Coulthard said. "I've done track events with him when he was still in the lower formulas. I'm not going to say it's been easy because I've not walked in his shoes, but it's kind of taken the trajectory that Zak saw his potential and brought him up into Formula One. It would appear that Max had quite a feisty coming through karting and what have you, so I guess we all get ready for the battle at different points. Lando is brilliantly fast, that's his superpower. The rest, the getting the elbows out, your Sennas, your Schumachers, they redefined what was acceptable. Max is doing the same. Lando has got to. There's no point going in the boxing ring and then complaining the guy punched you in the ear. My ear is ringing. You've got to just get in and own it." That is it for this video. I'll see you around.